Hey there, comic friends. I'm Travis. It's time for the Comic Roundtable. How's it going, everybody? Tonight with us, we have back Mr. Comic to Comic. How's it going, sir?
It's going good. It's going
Yeah,
good.
good. And we also have with us young Fred. Fred, how's it going?
Wonderful. I'm just starting my vacation now.
Starting your vacation. Isn't
Yep.
school starting up?
In like 2 days.
Okay, it's a good time to start the vacation then. And Fred, fresh off of crowd control, we have Sergeant America Mike. How's it going, Mike?
Wonderful. Psycho Pirate is in my head, and that's who makes me do these shows.
Oh, so that's who I send the check to. Okay, good to know. Good
Yes,
to know.
yep.
Right on. Okay, so we're gonna talk some comics. We flipped the imaginary coin before the show, and we're gonna talk DC first this week. So where do we want to start? You pick it. I probably have it.
Don't you have all of them? Or is
I
there
do.
one that... Yeah,
No,
okay.
I think this is the last week that I have all of them. I hope so, because there's some turkeys in here that everything I could do to get through them. So
Yeah, it's time... I want to hear your thoughts on this. I think we should go with Batgirl first.
oh, okay.
Because the art has improved for me. I think the coloring looks a lot better in it. I think that was where it was kind of sticking with me.
Okay.
So she's just training in this, correct? That's the main, and she's kind of having the side romance, right? I mean, that's what we're supposed to be getting from this. She's almost having, like, the Tim Drake thing where he went off and trained for a little bit to improve himself. Like, it's kind of her having her own journey again. See, because I didn't read that last run. I read some of it, but then
Okay.
I dropped it, so I'm wondering if I'm missing something from any of this. If I didn't read that?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think the issue one kind of tells you what you need to know about the Burnside stuff. That she's just kind of getting away from all that because it got a little too crazy for her, kind of thing. So she's just kind of she's doing the traveling thing that every other classic male superhero has done at some point, right? Picked up the tent poles and just kind of went on a soul-seeking journey, and that's kind of what she's doing. She knows about these, this fruit bat character who was a superhero in what was it the 20s or the 40s? I can't remember which it was. At any rate,
40s.
So she wants to track down what she can about that because she's curious about this, like, basically this feminist superhero that was running around back in the day, and so she's just kind of doing whatever. I mean, she's doing some training and stuff, and yeah, I mean, there's some, why she's fighting at this martial arts place and whatnot, why she decided that's what she's doing, that's a little weak, I think, because at the end of the last issue, right, she kind of basically literally runs into that giant billboard saying, Singapore MMA, kind of thing, that she decides she needs to sign up for that because of this experience that she had with this, this ex-superhero and stuff. So,
If I had any real gripe with this, I would say that this has had a lot of coincidences in it that haven't really, he happens to be there and it's a childhood friend. She's fighting this MMA fighter who has the tattoo, so she knows that it's a part of it. I mean, that's very minimal. It didn't, like, take me out of it or anything, but
I'm enjoying the comic. I really like it. I mean, I like her kind of being a free spirit kind of thing. She's not as kind of carefree as what the Burnside version was. She just seemed a little too nonchalant about stuff, because the character has been portrayed as being pretty wound up at times. Gail Simone's version of her, she was pretty intense,
sure.
nonstop. I mean, even when she tried to, go on a date, she just absolutely couldn't. Really, she was too wound up. This is kind of I think a good blend between the two. She can be intense, but she can also relax. She's just kind of going with the flow of stuff that's here and whatnot. And she has some conversation with herself about, is she getting too wound up into things with this potential relationship? I mean, yeah, there's those coincidences there, but she's even questioning those coincidences. She's even going, this guy just happens to show up, and I mean, she's falling for the guy, so she's being tricked into maybe, lying to herself that there's not an underlying problem, with the guy. But I think issue 2, I've enjoyed it. I like the art in it. I think she looks great. in the thing.
Yeah. I love Albuquerque art. I'm liking it. I don't have any real gripes with it. I was just wondering how much of a shift it was, because I got into that last run a little bit, and I thought, I don't know if this is really, if I'm the audience for this. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but with it, I enjoy her. I always feel like Barbara as a character is more introspective than anyone else in the Bat family. Like, she's kind of, the self-doubt doesn't feel like it's not a crutch, what am I trying to say? Like a handicap. It's more her trying to figure herself out, and I love that in superhero storytelling. I think she's always been that way as a character, always trying to figure herself out, so this Vacation's perfect for that. I was just wondering if I was lost on anything. Like, okay, this is from the last run, and I'm not.
I think, like I said, for me, it feels like it blends the two. It doesn't take it as far as what the 20-something version of her in the Burnside Batgirl. I feel like it dials some of that back. I mean, some of it's there. You know, she's not quite, like I said, not quite as intense as what the Gail Simone run was of it. But I feel like it captures both parts well. It feels to me like I read all except for like 2 or 3 issues of the Burnside. I kind of rode that out just out of curiosity to see what what those creators were trying to say and whatnot. And I think that this dials her back closer to what she was before, but I almost feel like it dials her back closer to what she was before the New 52.
Yeah.
You know, the older Batgirl, kind of a thing. And I'm all for that.
I like the fact that she's not lost and naive. She's more wise of the world, but still realizes she has a lot to figure out, and I like that because you can really grow the character in the subsequent issues. What you've basically settled for me is that the things that are kind of nebulous or you can't figure out are probably going to be told in the story and not something I'm missing.
Right. Exactly. No, there's no secret whatevers. I mean, like I said, anything that you would have needed to know about the Burnside version of the character, pretty much in issue 1, you hear. You know, she kind of created this kind of industry. She's stepping away from it, letting other people run it. You know, the whole thing in Burnside got crazy, and she just needs to kind of get away from it. And she kind of doing her soul journey kind of a thing. Which I'm all for. I like those stories with the characters. Well, it's not happening all the time. I like it. So, yeah.
Cool. Enjoyable book. Check it out, everyone.
Let's. I want to get one of the turkeys out of the way so I can move on with my life. Titans, are you still getting this?
This is the last issue. Sadly.
I hope this is my last issue. I hope I don't have a 3rd issue pre-ordered. I don't know how much. I mean, it's largely the art, the Brett Booth art. It's so. We talked about it off air before we started the show, but it's so stereotypical. That kind of 90s when we all kind of joke about, superhero comics of the 90s, the big ridiculous thighs and the overdone teeth and the I don't know what kind of hairstyles you're supposed to call most of those hairstyles in it. And when Abnett writes well, I really like Abnett stories. And when Abnett writes bland, it is very bland. And so I feel like this story is just like blah on top of it, on top of the visual storytelling that's just kind of, I don't know.
In all honesty, I feel like if they were going to go down the route they're going storytelling-wise, they should have just had a Wally West book, minus this other group. Right. I think that would have probably done a lot better. And yeah, it's weird because you can't. It's kind of amorphous in a lot of ways, the art style. But if you know what we're talking about, if you look at that and you know that period in comics, and maybe some people are nostalgic for it, and it definitely feels like a superhero comic from that period. So if you're longing for that, I think that's for you. I just have had my fill of that.
Yeah, I briefly in the Justice League run right before the New 52, he was the artist on the book for a while during an Eclipso story, and I was like, when he first was on the book, I'm like, oh yeah, cool, this will be neat, this will be something different, whatnot, because there was somebody else that I didn't like on it. But by the time that arc was done, I was like, okay, I've had my fill of this, and so having this back just makes this that much harder for me to consume. I mean, those thighs. His thighs are as big as his chest. I know there's some proportion as far as perspective, but
I do like this issue.
Well, good thing you didn't.
Just because of the cover. it reminded me of that episode of the Teen Titans cartoon with the Doll King. And I was like, oh, are they doing that in the book? I flipped through it and I was like, nope.
It's a throwback to a Teen Titans cover from back in what we call the day.
Yeah.
So I like the cover, actually.
Yeah, for those of us who had a day. But man, the mullet haircuts, I don't know. There's just so much about this they didn't step out of the mid '90s. The characters didn't completely. Yeah, there's just
no.
Yeah, this is bottom of the barrel. This is one of the books. I mean, there's a lot of these books that I'm like, I don't have. I mean, I'm not going to keep getting them. I'm inevitably going to cut them from my poll because I just have too many books to read. But they're not awfully done. To me, for me personally, this falls under awfully done. So.
Yeah, I think there is an audience for it. I just don't know that I'm in that audience. I can definitely see people going, okay, this is a throwback, and I like that. Because, I mean, there's people that like Liefeld still.
Yeah, sure. It's just not my thing. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I mean, even for me, it feels like even story-wise, if I get past the elements of the art I don't like, which of course is part of the storytelling. The story itself is like, and I like Abracadabra. I mean, I kind of like that character, and I don't know that in this he was kind of that corny, over the top.
Yeah.
So, Mike, did you get any DC books this week?
Yes, Wacky Raceland was my pick this week.
Right on.
This one focused on Penelope, and when they told her backstory, they did like the artwork you see in cartoons that a child draws and puts on the refrigerator. So it was cute in that style. All the rest of the book, they're in this major race. They do flashbacks to different people's storylines because each person seems to be punished and is put here in this race to make a redemption. And so it was good to see that Penelope had this problem with her stepdad, and her family ended up dying because of it. And so that's what she wants. She wants to win this race and her family to be free to go somewhere better and alive again. So, it just, I just liked it because originally it was a nostalgia factor. Now it is because it is a truly good story that they are letting this person write, and the artwork is just stupendous in it also.
So when you were you dropped like the Johnny Quest and all of that I can't even think of the name and I'm picking it up, but you dropped it because of the nostalgia factor. Future Quest, that's great. You dropped that because of the nostalgia factor. What would you say the difference is between that and this, nostalgia-wise?
This was an entirely new story. I mean, this has nothing to do with the cartoon. The Future Quest, the reason why I dropped it, I wanted just a Johnny story or a Herculoid story or a Space Ghost. I didn't want this entire mixed-up universe with it.
Oh. Interesting.
Because I'm also getting the Flintstones, and the Flintstones is amazing, and I hated that cartoon, but it is smart and it is beautiful art in that too. So.
Well, I have fought since Fred came in here from saying, "Hey, Fred," the whole time. I had to get it out. So. Sorry, Fred. Sorry.
I'm sure he's never heard that.
Yeah.
Never that accurately. Come on.
Oh. You do look like Rubble.
Yes. All right, let's see.
That's cool, though. I mean, that and Flintstones, the way they kind of take. Well, that one they're basically using the name and the race, and beyond that, it is. So
Mad Max. Yeah.
Yeah.
What issue is that on?
Sorry. Yeah, this is number 3.
And Flintstones.
This is.
Sorry.
And I believe Flintstones is number
2.
2.
Yeah.
Okay.
And because I was looking at the solicitations coming up for the Flintstones, because I was thinking about just jumping in on it, and the issue that I could order, they're discussing what the hell is this thing called marriage? I mean, after you talked about the issue where they're just talking about everybody has to go buy stuff because it's stuff.
Yeah.
Crap. I have to go get those books because it just sounds absolutely wonderful. So.
Yeah, it is. It is a little witty. It's a little cutting edge on that, and so I was surprised. I think it's because they know the audience who's buying the Flintstones is probably, they don't need a rehashing of an old cartoon. They wanted an updated story, and I think that was good. It was adult.
Yep.
So.
Yep. For sure.
They should have them meet the honeymooners and see if they can hash it out.
Yeah. Fred,
Did you get
did you get any DC books this week?
I did, but I pick up every 2 weeks at my shop, so I don't know what came out this week and what came out last week.
Oh, okay.
It's my big issue. So I figured I'd just jump in when you guys mentioned a book I picked up.
Cool. Okay. Did anybody pick up the Blue Beetle Rebirth?
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What you think? So the premise basically is we've got Jaime Reyes still being Blue Beetle, who's Blue Beetle for a while now, and we have Ted Kord, who is retired superhero, and Ted Kord of Ted Kord Industries. We get the impression that he's supposed to be mentoring.
Yeah. Yeah, he's
and of
doing
course,
kind of.
Yeah, and Reyes basically all he wants Ted Kord to do is get the damn beetle off his back, basically, because it's welded to him, and he wants to be fixed. He doesn't really want to be a superhero, but Ted's pushing him into the superhero business, and seems to kind of not really be listening to Jamie continuously saying, "Look, I'm not really interested in the superhero gig. I'll do that, because it's there, but I want it to be fixed." And at the end of it, we get the kind of surprise. Dr. Fate shows up, the real Dr. Fate, the older Dr. Fate shows up, and kind of points out that they're wrong, that they think it's alien technology and it's not. It's magical based, which the original Blue Beetle was magically based. Way back, charlatan. Back before the day.
What was his name? Garrett?
Garrett something. Yeah. I like that guy. He wore the chainmail shirt and the red gloves and
he looked like a knight.
And the black goggles kind of thing. Yeah.
One of my favorite pre-New 52 comics was the Blue Beetle. If you can track down those traits, it's really good. One thing I liked about that was that they had his family and friends know that he was a superhero. Like he didn't really have a secret identity really from any of his loved ones, and they made it work. They did have kind of the pitfalls of it. I would honestly, if you had like a kid that was just getting into comics, this is perfect. Like perfect for that. Definitely, probably a better version of Spider-Man right now is going on in this comic, and I don't mean that in a pejorative sense. It's just how I feel. Just kind of an enjoyable, straightforward superhero comic. So if that's for you, I mean, there's no depth going on here that you're going to be lost in.
Right. It jumped around. I mean, it's like they're trying to hit these kind of comedy beats of kind of like show us how he interacts with like his two best friends and how they interact with each other. So you get that beat. You get the beat of how he interacts with his mom and dad, kind of, and then you get the beats of how he interacts with Ted Kord. Is what we get. I don't know that it smoothly goes between each of those things.
No.
Well, as far as if we're going to look at it as far as is this really written and whatever, well, there's some in there as far as that goes. And typical of a Rebirth book as opposed to just the number one of the series, most of it kind of is like covering some bases to kind of give you a premise of this is what it's going to be like, which of course is what the Rebirth book should really be. So I'm going to get it. I'm going to get it going
check
forward.
It out,
yeah, because I like the characters, and so I'm curious to see how this all works between the two of them. The ex Blue Beetle and the new Blue Beetle kind of thing should be fun. But I worry though because at the end of this issue it drops in some elements that they attempted to use in the New 52 Blue Beetle because I bought it until it got canceled. And some of those elements are the same elements they tried reusing from the right before the New 52 thing. So for those of us who have kind of like tried to follow the character along, we're seeing the same story potentially unfold, 3 times in the last what?
Well, I just remember when this Blue Beetle became Blue Beetle and the outrage that people had that someone else was taking over the Blue Beetle. I mean, do you remember all that outrage at the time?
Yeah. Because Ted Kord was this loved character. Yeah. Of course, he was dead. Let's be honest. The character was dead. I mean, he got his neck broke, so it wasn't like he was around to
But what I liked is that eventually this character kind of went in. They realized, oh, they're doing his own thing over here. And I don't know anyone that gave it a shot that didn't like it.
Yeah, it's great. Me and the kids have read the trades, love him to death. So yeah, yeah, he's a good character. Good character for sure. Yeah. If you like superheroes in El Paso, Texas, that's for you. Oh, let's see what else.
I'm hoping we hit one that you got, Fred.
I know.
Did you read,
Well, I was just going to say that for that El Paso comment,
Yeah.
going back to your Spider-Man comment, wasn't Scarlet Spider based out of Texas too?
Well, yeah, for one of the runs, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it's all tying together.
Right on. I don't know. What else you want to talk about? Like I said, I have them all.
Did you get Detective, Fred?
I'm still on the last one. I'm
Oh.
issue behind. I was like, oh man, I'll get it. I'll be able to talk about it tonight, and I'm like, it's not even the right numbering.
Oh. So in other words, before the show, we just spoilered it for you. I apologize.
I've seen like 2 or 3 other podcasts where they talked about it, so I'm like,
Oh.
I don't really care at this point.
Okay.
I'm enjoying this book. I'm enjoying it a lot. It's great. It's a fun team book. I think they tried way too hard, way too hard to make Tim Drake into some sort of a stud in this issue. Like, and I would say that even if I wasn't a animate Tim Drake hater. So they're all in a panic, rushing all over Gotham to stop these drones that are going to go out and, wreak havoc and wreck everything. And so he just decides to rewire them all, so they're all going to show up and he's going to fight them all.
Oh, I do think his hubris is going to be his undoing in the next issue.
They're going to kill him next issue? I'm super excited then.
Well, no, I think he's obviously not. It's not going to. If I open the first couple of pages of the next issue and he's just wrecking them all, yeah, it would be a little bit over the top.
It's all math. It's all math. See, all he has to do is calculate the math, and he's going to kick all their asses. I'm also super excited because he's going to go away to school. He's not going to be in Gotham anymore. I'm excited for that too.
You really think that's what's happening?
No, it's not, because I know that the writer, that Tim Drake is his ultimate favorite hero ever. It's his guy. It's like Snyder's Batman. I mean, it's the character he's wanted to write forever and ever and ever. Like I said, up until this point, I haven't really had a problem with Drake. Drake's been fine, but this issue, he feels really over the top. Like, this guy is so brilliant and so genius with his replaceable windows and all this other stuff.
That was kind of stupid.
He could own the world. He could own the world. What is he doing?
What to be kind of more grounded in the criticism, it really was just a Tim Drake issue, and a lot of the characters I'm enjoying in this took a back seat.
Yeah.
I felt Batwoman was still somewhat represented in this, but I wanted to see more from, Spoiler, and I'll always call her Batgirl, but I know she's
right.
But
there's 2 Batgirls in this issue.
Yeah, both the Batgirls, both the former Batgirls. But the one character that kind of is been really interesting to me in this that I thought, oh, how's that going to work? I'm liking Clayface in this series too. I love that scene where he comes in as Batman and he's like, get out, and it's not working. Okay.
Right, he comes in and he doesn't lay the line down right? He's he's trying to sound like badass Batman. He's kind of lame. You need to get out of here now, and they're like, the people are looking at him like, what? And so he turns into stereotypical Clayface, and they run for their lives, which is what he wanted them to do. So yeah, he's a good character. I mean, like I said, I like the book as all. My hang up with this issue is it just felt way over the top about what a stud Tim Drake is. I guess was my problem. It's like, why are the rest of them even there? He clearly has this whole thing handled by himself. I mean, I like the conversation between Batwoman and Batman, where she basically calls Batman on his secret shit that he pulls. That's stereotypical Batman kind of stuff, as far as, I know more than everybody else, and I'm only going to let you in on what I need to let you in on. He's using everybody, and she's like, I'm not having that. If he continues to do that, I hope she really calls him on it. I mean, I hope she.
I didn't believe him for a second when he said, no, okay, from now on.
And she doesn't either, right? I mean, I hope not. I hope she's not that naive. But Yeah, I'm really, as a team book, this has been a really fun team book for sure.
Yeah, and I think she's, it's a different Batwoman, but I'm liking this Batwoman. It's not, there's been several versions of this Batwoman. I'm liking this kind of leader, kind of, not motherly is not the term I'd use, but almost kind of like a strict.
Well, she's certainly got what we all get told anyway, of the kind of squad leader mentality.
Yeah.
If you're a good squad leader and you care about your squad, you above and beyond to make sure that nothing bad's going to happen to them and whatnot.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's very enjoyable.
Yep.
I heard one person say that a great plot twist for the next issue would be, like, they've hyped up this Tim Drake's gonna die thing, and then Steph Brown bites it next issue.
I would be furious.
Oh, if they do that, watch the internet split in half.
I'd be so mad.
Like, she swoops in and saves him at the last second and just dies.
Well,
Like,
you gotta understand.
After they hint that she might be pregnant, right?
Stephanie Brown is easily one of my favorite DC characters, and they have done her wrong for the past little while. Like, this is kind of an okay Stephanie Brown. It's not Stephanie Brown that I love, but it's one that's, tolerable as opposed to the Eternal version and the post-Eternal. So no, that's a bad twist.
That's funny. That's
funny. I would probably weep. I really would. It would be sad.
I would laugh, but it wouldn't be an actual funny laugh. It'd be a laugh of you got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
Let's see. Action Comics. Anybody still reading Action Comics besides me?
This is my last issue.
Same here. 962. We take care of Doomsday, basically the final rumble of Doomsday. Okay, so who's the guy in the robe? Is that Libra? Is there a guy named Libra or something like that has a sickle?
I'm not.
See, because at the very end of this issue, right, it shows him and he's got a sickle. That's the first time I've seen him with a weapon, right? Because he hasn't had anything in his hands that we've seen. But in this issue, he has that. He's carrying that sickle, right? I feel like I should know who he is based on him having that. No?
I'm looking it up right now.
No, Libra has the staff with the scale on it.
Is that what it was? Okay. I couldn't remember. It just feels like that there's a DC Watcher kind of character. No? Okay.
I don't know who that is.
Okay. Well, it's a mystery that I'll have to let somebody else tell me at some other point because I don't plan to read it to find out, I guess. Yeah. I don't know.
Not a complete shit comic, but just something that's.
It has the elements of Superman books that I just don't interest me. It's kind of a big slugfest, which I don't know. Some superheroes having a slugfest I don't mind, but this one, I don't know. I guess my problem is there are other Superman comics out that I'm really enjoying. I like the characterization of the characters. That's part of the problem in this. There are plot elements that are interesting in this, but zero characterization to make me invested in the characters in this issue.
Mm-hmm.
I read this going, well, they're so cool over there. Why aren't they cool here? Kind of a thing. His family, for instance, because they keep putting Lois and Jonathan in the book. So for me, they need to be characterized better because I like the characterization of them in the Superman book, and they don't have this here. They don't have it at all. Kind of a thing. So I have a problem with that. I mean, I like the idea that there's this other Clark. I'm interested to see what kind of conflict will go on between Luthor and Luthor as Superman and this Superman. I'm interested in all those things. For me, it's just not told well enough in this book to keep me interested in those plot ideas. It's not executed enough to, I don't know, for me.
I just think they should have given the book to Lex and let Superman have his own story in Superman. I think that was really, because they are kind of giving him like an anti-hero kind of complex in this, and that's probably the most interesting thing for me, at least in this, is him kind of dealing with this other Superman showing up and him kind of, I'm right back where I am, but I've changed. I would love to see where that goes, but to me this was just like, let's make a standard Superman story. Doomsday did not need to be in this story at all. I felt like he kind of I don't know.
Five issues of them knocking each other through buildings, right?
I do like this cover, though, I will say.
Yes. Yeah, I'm a sucker for the, write the title out and have them busting it up thing.
Yeah.
So that's cool. Yeah, I think it's unfortunate they used Doomsday at the very beginning, too. I mean, because Doomsday is like the ultimate threat, and to start the book out with the ultimate threat, I don't know.
And then Wonder Woman, I don't feel has an interesting voice in it at all either.
No.
So I don't know. It's there's just not a lot there where there's other books where these characters are much more interesting. So
Agreed.
Makes me wonder if I'll even check out the Batman Beyond book. I don't plan on it, but I know Jurgens is writing that too, I think.
Oh, is he?
I think so.
Okay. Huh. Well, that may get a very short leash from me then too. So. Hellblazer. Anyone picking this up?
Principal.
Okay. So what'd you think, Fred? Issue number 1?
This is my first Hellblazer book ever.
No.
Yes.
Put it down. Walk away.
I wanted to go get the other, the old runs in trade before I got this, but I just
Yes.
haven't been able to get a chance to go pick them up yet.
Okay.
And this was just on.
They're
it was
not terribly hard to track down.
Oh no, I plan on getting them soon, but with school starting, I got to focus on those books too.
Sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean,
Been there.
I
Been there.
I enjoyed it for what it was. I mean, with no real context to go off of.
Right.
I had a decent time, but I'm still a little confused.
Well, yeah, because this book is written with the assumption that you're steeped in quite a bit of John. You already know his character. You already know, how he supposedly operates. You know the kind of the easy points that people point out about Constantine, that he's really out for himself. He does good, but somehow it seems to be kind of a selfish motivations. Or at least that's how most people interpret him. I personally don't interpret him that way, but yeah, I mean, it's not a horrible telling of it. I actually liked the DCU version of the character better so far than this, but that's mostly, I think, has to do with the fact the Moritat art. I got fatigued out with it with All-Star Western, and every time they add a female to the cast, it pains me because they all look the same. If they aren't real careful with the haircuts, I can't tell one character from another. So I have a problem with that. I mean, I think it's cool they're using Swamp Thing in the issue right off the bat. That's kind of fun. They do tie into the Rebirth issue really well with this, because the Rebirth issue just kind of randomly he gets himself back in London after he's because he's been chased out of London for a long time. They explain how that all came about a little bit in this issue, which was kind of fine. But yeah, it relies heavy on what happened in the last run of the book, as far as his experience in New York and his issues with kids. It doesn't explain any of that, and actually he has deeper issues with children getting involved in what he's got going on that go way back, and those stories are very, very good. And reading the Newcastle stuff and whatnot, if you ever do manage to go back and get those trades, that's where the real Hellblazer stories are told at. This is very lightweight in comparison.
The issue for what it was, I found some parts humorous, and I've seen Constantine pop up, but it was mostly through Sandman and other Vertigo titles where he would just appear as a character.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Wasn't bad, but I do know I have to go back.
Yeah. I mean that old stuff is the rich stuff. This, like I said, this is all kind of really tame and watered down so far. I don't know.
It's really good.
I will probably keep getting it for a while because, like I said, I'm not oh my god, this is a train wreck or anything. But I do have real misgivings with the art in it. I wish they would have found somebody else to do the art. Yeah.
I feel if they wanted to keep it with you have to go back and know more about Constantine's history, they kind of should have done what they did with Lucifer and just keep it as a Vertigo title. Because even the Lucifer book now relies on you knowing about the events of Sandman and then the events of the old Lucifer book before you can even read this stuff, because a lot of it ties back into that.
Well, right, but the reason they pulled him out of the Vertigo realm is because he was a DC Universe character to start out with. because he showed up in Swamp Thing, and Swamp Thing was a DC Universe character. So that's why they pulled him out of the Vertigo. They pulled everything that was in Vertigo that was attached to the regular DC Universe out. So
I want to say, like, not to be a super cynic, but he also had that TV show and the whole Justice League Dark hype coming out.
yeah.
Like, I feel like that was also them trying to be like, oh, we need like our own, because Doctor Fate isn't doing so well, Doctor Strange-ish character to have to counter Marvel, which from like a company standpoint kind of makes sense.
Yeah, but Constantine is so far removed from what Doctor Strange is. I mean, you can't compare. Other than they have quote unquote magic, there's zero comparison.
But I think to try to get like,
You should never see Constantine waving his hands around and magic light comes shooting out and him zapping somebody, or him turning a butter knife into a broadsword and cutting somebody in half. That's never going to happen. If it does, they should burn the book right then.
Did you just refer to the Don't Pay the Ferryman story arc? Because I just read it 2 days.
You know, I mean, it's you're not going to get those things though. You're just not. That's not going to be in a Hellblazer book.
For guys like you who are like super steeped in like the comic history, you can see that divergence. But like for those new readers they're trying to get, I feel like Constantine might have been their best push to try to get like that interested in magic in the comic universe market.
Boy, I hope not, because you're really lying to the customer if that's the case. Because like I said, they just aren't. But I can see them maintaining a book because that stuff's coming out. Because the other media is coming out. Clearly, you maintain a book.
Yeah. I'm surprised they're not relaunching Justice League Dark immediately if that's going to be a movie.
And a cartoon. They're doing both, live action and cartoon.
No, are you joking?
Just like the Suicide Squad, right? They'll put out. My understanding is they'll put out the cartoon, you know, and then not much longer after that, then we'll get hit with a live action.
Oh, is it like a like the Killing Joke type cartoon type thing where it's kind of released on, or is it like a episodic thing?
No, it's gonna be a movie. It's gonna be a movie, like the Suicide Squad one was. What was that Suicide Squad one called?
The Arkham. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. You know, I believe that's my understanding right now, anyway, of how that is all gonna work. So
what they should do with Constantine, if they do a cartoon, is do it like the Spawn series from the '90s that was on HBO that everyone bootlegged. I would totally watch that in a heartbeat.
Right. So speaking of Constantine. Anybody else reading Six Pack and Dog Welder? The hard traveling heroes? You remember? Okay. So when the last miniseries came out, me and Luke read it and we're like, oh yeah, it was fun, but I don't need to read anything like this again for at least another year or two. And this comes out, what, I don't know, 4 months later, and here I am picking it up. So clearly I am juvenile and have no taste. I thought this issue was really smart, though. Surprisingly smart. Smarter than the miniseries, at least in this first issue. Of course, you have these train wreck characters that they are. Your main character is named Six Pack. He's an absolute, complete, and utter drunk. He's constantly barfing up on himself. He can't say a complete sentence that isn't slurred. You know, the whole Section 8 are these misfit heroes. You know, one of them's basically the ultimate pervert. I mean, anything he can stick his member in, he does repeatedly. I mean, his girlfriend is called Guts because that's all she is a pile of guts and a mouth. And she's on the team too. Of course, he's married to her, but he's cheating on her. You get this other character called Dog Welder here who can't talk, but he literally welds dogs to the sides of dead dogs to the sides of people's faces. Yeah, I mean, it's just a train wreck of characters. But they do this really great job in here of, there's a lot of meta conversation going on because he thinks that Section 8 is like the great team. Like, they can be held up next to the Justice League and the Teen Titans and stuff like that. And somebody in the bar, because their secret hideout is a big sleazy bar like in the armpit of New Jersey, there's a person there that's giving him a hard time about the fact, you know, really, has he done anything? And he starts commenting on this, like, their great claim to fame, or like stopping the petting zoo zombies. You know, it's all these petting zoo animals that turn into zombies, and they pick on him about some events, and some of the events they're like winks and nods at the events that Marvel's doing, but there's just a lot of really kind of fun metatext here. But something comes falling out of space, something disastrous is happening, and a guy shows up in the alley, and you don't see the guy, except he's smoking a lot. He's flicking the cigarettes at Dog Welder, and you see him opening up a pack of cigarettes, and it's the 100% Silks, and he's got an English accent. So that's one of the things that's kind of a gag about this is they're always the real heroes are in this in the background somewhere. Like in this issue, Power Girl, Starfire, and Catwoman are trying to explain to Guts that she's letting Roberto treat her like a dog. He's going out and screwing around and whatnot, and Guts needs to put down the hammer and let him know how it is. I mean, it's really bizarre and funny stuff. But at the end of it, the Spectre shows up and says he's going to wipe the earth of sin, and he's come to this bar first. And Section 8's like, wow, this is really serious. I mean, because the Spectre's no effing joke. I wonder who he's after. They're all so sleazy, and it's just, I don't know. It's funny. It's a funny book. My explaining it probably is not good, but it's got some great lines in it, some really awesome meta stuff in it. It is 6 issues. Of course, it's a $4 book, but it's thicker than your 20-pager. I don't know. It was fun. More fun than I thought it was going to be. I mean, I always kind of read it in dread because sometimes it gets into some of the creepier 13-year-old humor kind of stuff. But
it sounds like a trauma film.
It is kind of. It really is. And if you've got a weak stomach of seeing somebody barfing a bunch, it's not a book for you because, like I said, Six-Pack can't go more than a couple sentences where he's not shooting corn at his nose and stuff as he's barfing all over the place.
And don't they? I mean, what I saw too was it looked like Dog Welder goes to his old house and his wife is remarried, and they're giving presents to the children, and you can see each of them have a scar on their face.
Yeah,
and she's saying, yep.
Yeah, because she's saying, because he's like, oh, the kids just need a puppy. That's the perfect thing their age at. And she's like, no puppy, no dogs. Don't even say the word again. And then it shows this. Both kids had these wicked scars down the side of their face because, of course, Dog Welder gave them dogs. Welded them to their face. Remember, he's a hero.
Yeah.
Whose only superpower is... Yeah. Luke's going to be disappointed, though. He's not here tonight. So we'll probably talk again about this next week if he shows up next week. There's no Grappler. There used to be a hero in the Section 8 called the Grappler, but he died in the last miniseries. He decided that he was pathetic and he hung himself in the bathroom with his grappling hook. So it's brutal. The book is brutal, but funny as hell too. Oh yeah, let's find something pleasant to talk about. I don't know what that is, but what else? Any other DC books people want to talk about?
There's one big one that I'm surprised you didn't want to talk about up to this point.
Wonder Woman?
Yes.
Or were you talking Deathstroke? Oh, Wonder Woman. Okay.
Wow, Deathstroke.
So, issue 5 of Wonder Woman, under the world of DC News, Lehman Sharp, the artist for this book, is now assigned the exclusive of DC. Which I'm not sure why they did that, because I'm assumed that unless he hated working there, that he'd probably be on the book for at least the next year or so to tell this story, if nothing else. But I guess this ensures that he's going to be around.
It's a gorgeous comic.
Okay, so there's art in here I really like, and there's art in here that I'm not sure that it holds up real well. There's the conversation between Edda and this new person I'm not familiar with, somebody who works for the government also.
Yeah.
And there's this whole, well, let me see if I can find it. There's this whole close-up scene between the two of them. And I don't know, if you're going to do real close-ups of people's faces and show different emotions, and I don't know if it's just the character. So there's this panel of a whole bunch of faces, which I clearly have no problem with. I mean, I've seen it in Sheriff of Babylon, and it's been excellent there. For me, my only problem here is, and maybe it's just the character. Edda seems to be portraying. They move her face around like she's talking and having conversations. Other than the one open eye here. This character doesn't seem to change a whole lot. I don't know. For me, that was a little... But I like the bigger scenes that he does. The jungle stuff and whatnot. I really like a lot of that. And I like his Wonder Woman. I like the way she looks. You know, the way they color her and the style that she is. But I don't. This is the new character, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Somebody on the inside. There's a greater evil going on, clearly.
Yeah, and it's weird because I'm wondering if it's all going to be connected, or if they're going to be like separate factions of machinations going after Steve and Diana. Which narrative are you liking better? Because I mean, it's being written by the same person, the Year One stuff or this stuff.
The Year One stuff is fun, really fun to read.
Mm-hmm.
I'm enjoying it because it's fun to read. I'm intrigued by this story though, more than the Year One stuff, if that makes sense. The Year One stuff is it's history, right? I mean, we're getting new details, but it's kind of, you know, it's already happened. So
I think for me, the Year One stuff had a bigger hill to climb because I mean, how many times in like the last 4 years or so have we heard that narrative of the? I get that that's big in superhero comics. Let's tell the origin story again, but I feel like that had a little bit bigger hill to climb. This, I think you're right, though. There's so many plot elements in this, and I'm not lost, necessarily. Where with some other comics I'm reading right now, I could get lost with this many things. Batman. Just put it plainly. Yeah, this is interesting, and it feels good to just read a decent Wonder Woman story again after that pit that the book was in for.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean it's enjoyable. If you're a Wonder Woman fan, you're probably picking it up. So.
Right. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I really like this version. I'm interested in the whole cheetah thing and what's going on there. They've kind of tweaked that a little bit. I love the scene in this where she just happens to be in the same place as them. And she was wading into the prison, and she's, you know, knocking heads on the hyena dudes, and it's like, oh, hey, because she knows these guys, because these are all the guys that are always with Trevor.
Steve, yeah.
So she knows them all by name. Oh, hi, Dave. Hi, Mike. And she's just like, and they're all like, hi, Diana. You know, like they know her. Like they're all casual. I mean, she's Wonder Woman, but they're like, oh, hi, Diana. Oh, hi, Di. How's it going? You know, they're like, you know, even though these guys are captured, right? And who knows, they could be sacrificed to some, you know, weird god in the next moment. But they're all kind of casual about it. She's like, oh, yeah. And then she's like, hey, wait a second. Because, of course, Steve is gone because he's the alpha, and so he's being tortured separately from everybody else. But I don't know. I just love that. I love that scene because she's just so casual. It's so, like, she just happened to be in the coffee shop, and you were in the coffee shop, too. And she's just like, hi, how's it going? After she's broken all these critters, you know.
What it did, I think, it did a lot of back narrative where essentially you can tell this group has gotten in a ton of scrapes in the past, right. And she's had to go and save them.
Yeah, you know, here she is being all Amazonian badass, flexing her muscles, beating the hell out of them. And then the next one, there she is, she's smiling and waving. And they're all beat up, but they're smiling back like, hey, how's it going? I don't know, I just loved it. I was tickled by that whole scene where she's just like, crunch.
It just feels like that's their relationship, though. They go and get captured, and she comes along and rescues them. Like, I don't know. It was kind of cool because it was the right kind of levity for this story. Because it's not like beyond deep, but they're tapping into some things here, especially with Cheetah in here. That you could go, okay, this is.
It's heavy. It's heavy. Yeah. I mean, because she's kind of, whether she has to or not, she feels compelled to have to stave off her hunger by eating human flesh. She, you know, she's a monster. You know, she's not just a bad guy. She's a monster, and so it's a struggle, and I think it's really interesting.
Which makes it so much more compelling of a character because she's not just I'm bad because I'm bad.
Right.
There's kind of a, you know, like an addiction element to the story with her. Like she's battling this addiction. So it does go a little deep that wise. And so it was kind of neat to have that levity at the end there.
Right. And like I said, it's just because, well, and it's so, you know, you so often we see, and especially in this, even in the modern part of it, right? Up to this point, she has been very statuesque, very graceful, but very powerful. I'm warning you once. Don't fight me, just take me to who I want to see. You know, and they attack her in that first issue, and she's like, okay, I'm warning you a second time. You know, she's being all this, you know, very serious and whatnot. And like I said, she's serious in all of this up until that moment. She sees people who she recognizes as this like inside casual friends, and all of a sudden she's, you know, I don't know, it's such a you know, flip of the character kind of thing. It was really funny and fun. So yeah, I'm enjoying the book. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'm totally blown away by the two books and how they're working right now, but I am certainly happy to be buying it. So. I brought up Deathstroke, so I'll briefly talk about Deathstroke. Anybody else get Deathstroke? Oh, I like. What cover do you have, Fred?
I don't know.
You must have the variant. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
It was on the shelf.
What'd you think? Issue number 1. Did you read the Rebirth issue?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I am very much enjoying this series. I tried reading the New 52 version. I read a couple of those like trades, and I just wasn't doing it for me. I feel like this is a lot better than those. I like the fact they're using Clock King because he is scarcely used anymore.
Sure.
And I don't know, the whole like fact that he's like this super tough mercenary, like perfect 90s-esque comic character who can go in and just kill everybody. But in this one, he's like, no, I'm going to play this smart. I'm going to like plan out 3 steps ahead so I don't have to just be that brute force anymore.
Right.
You actually see that because whenever they talk about the different powers he gets, like, oh, he's got a healing factor, he's super strong, he can do all this, they mention how like much faster he can think and how he can outsmart everybody, but then you never see him do it because he's just like, oh, I can just shoot everybody and walk out fine.
Yeah.
And this one, they actually...
And the older version of him, it really was all about him being able to process faster than everybody else. That he didn't have other superpowers, to the best of my knowledge. I mean, back when he was fighting the Titans, when he was fighting Green Arrow, he didn't have, you know, healing factor and stuff like that. No. He just could map it out quicker than everybody else could, kind of a thing. It was the tactician that made him who he who he was and whatnot. So yeah, I mean, for me, I'm not like super engrossed in this. I'm curious. I've always kind of liked the character. I never really read any stuff of him in the New 52 whatsoever because I didn't really. Well, the people who are on the book to start out with, quite frankly, you know, chased me away from the book, and I just then I started hearing about him having Wolverine type superpowers, and I was like, I don't need to experience that. But I figured I'd give this a try with the whole I can get him cheap. So. I mean, I'm confused by his history because his history is so much different than what the history that I'm familiar with. I mean, he's got these other 2 kids. I mean, the kids that I knew that he had were you know, Rose, Ravager, and Jericho are the 2 kids that I knew he had, plus the original Ravager, right? That's what his name was. That died in issue 2, gets killed in issue 2 of the New Teen Titans back in the day. So I don't know. I'm confused by that. I don't know if she has a. I mean, because this character in this cover, they show what looks to be like Rose on there, except she doesn't have the eye patch yet. But she's not in the comic, and so I don't know if this character was Rose or if this character was his wife, because his wife that he's getting a divorce from.
Wasn't her right behind his shoulder? Isn't that his wife on your cover?
No. Yeah, it is. I guess it is. So I don't know. The cover confuses me. It's got all these characters on there that I don't know who they are, I guess. But yeah, it's okay. I'm curious to see what's next. I mean, I do like the fact he has a code, and he always has had kind of a code, and I like that he continues to stick with that. I mean, it's not like, you know, he is a mercenary and he does the jobs that he's hired to do, but that doesn't mean that he doesn't figure out a way to then get other jobs that counterbalance the things he does. So he literally does a job in this where he's going to help the warlords continue to have a battle in Africa and have no one stop them from continuing to slaughter people and whatnot. But at the same time, he takes the money and invests it in another politician that they kill him, so he can't, you know, so supposedly he won't vote to have this thing happen, but he gets elected anyway because he manipulates things outside of the battlefield to where the war gets quashed anyway. So he's not evil, but I mean, he is a mercenary, but it's not like he doesn't care what's happening in the world. So I like those aspects, them kind of having this
The home aspect, even though it sounds kind of messed up, like that whole like relationship between him and his wife, and how like they like fight, like fist fight full out, and the kids are just used to it. They're just like they're doing it again.
Right.
I'm gonna leave, like maybe be back in 2 days. I don't know. I'll see you later, Uncle, whatever your name is. And like the wife's just but the wife's just mad that like she can't go out and like I guess she's a spy assassin too, and she's just mad she can't kill anybody anymore because she's stuck at home.
Right. Right. Yeah. Anybody reading Hal Jordan in the Green Lantern course?
You mean Space Batman? I dropped that in a minute. I felt that vibe. Oh, I was so mad.
This issue has some more Jon Stewart in it, which I'm always happy to see Jon Stewart. It has a little bit of Guy Gardner in it, which is okay. And then it's a lot of Hal Jordan being Hal Jordan, which I'm never too excited by. Him being a braggart and you know, taunting everybody and fighting 100 yellow lanterns. The Sinestro parts of it are kind of interesting. He's rebuilding this kind of power base. He's brought in this religious group that basically, I guess, the Green Lanterns had basically hunted down almost out of existence. They were kind of hiding in the shadows, bringing them back to the forefront with the idea that, look, as long as you're actually helping me, we're serving each other, and that's good. The second your religion doesn't jive with what I want to do, then you know, I'm going to take you out again. So, you know, I'm going to let you practice your religion as long as it works for me, kind of thing. It seems to be, I don't know a lot about the Yellow Lanterns, but it seems to be right now the Yellow Lanterns, as they push fear across the galaxy and across the universe, their power gets stronger.
Mm-hmm.
So like they may have had rings that are 100%. By the end of this issue, their rings are at like 270%, and they pretty much kick Hal Jordan's ass by the end of this thing. He tries to be the Lone Ranger rushing in to save these people, and basically he gets them all captured and hauled off to the fear machine. And basically it's his own fault because he was being kind of, well, Hal Jordan, he's being a braggart, thinking he can just take everybody on, and he gets crushed. But if it was largely the Jon Stewart stuff, is he's trying to, because Jon Stewart's trying to put the Green Lantern Corps back together again, and they're completely busted. Some of the Corps members are literally dying. They're laying around this planet trying to fix things up so they can operate again, and there are members that are just expiring because they're so beat up and wrecked from wherever it was they were, that I'm assuming was in the New 52. So I would be interested in that part, but the Hal Jordan part continues to not interest me, and of course it's his name on the book, so it's I think this is like the last issue of this I'm getting also.
I mean, Sinestro is always a compelling villain to me. I've always found him to be actually really interesting, more interesting than a lot of Bat villains, actually, because I always feel like his motivation is, I want order, and I will get it any way I can. If it's through making everyone afraid of me, and he's kind of doing that in this. Is that
right.
What I would have done, from what I read the first couple of issues, I would have had him, he's won. The Green Lanterns are gone. He's in charge. I'd have his dream come true where there's order and then have it fracture little by little. I think what they're going to do is just have Hal Jordan be that fracture. No, I would have had the system break down, because he has an ideology that just is wrong, and I wouldn't want it to break. That would be more interesting to me, but they have to have Hal Jordan in the book.
So
right.
You're saying that even though Hal Jordan is Jeff Johns' absolute favorite character ever, he still can't win. Even the power of Jeff Johns, he loses.
Well, yeah. Jeff Johns isn't around anymore. But
right.
I would say out of all the Lanterns, Hal Jordan is very much stuck in the period he came from. I think he's evolved the least out of all of them. And so he's kind of flat, but I think people that like that want that to remain the same. I don't think you could change him. And just all the other characters have evolved over time. Sinestro's become a much more interesting character. Jon Stewart's a really interesting character. Guy Gardner's kind of the comic relief, and then Hal Jordan's just from the Silver Age.
Yeah.
And they're not going to change that.
Yeah. Yeah, and he maintains that. I mean, it seems like anybody who writes him maintains that. And I just have a very low tolerance for that. Like I said, I like him when he's working, with Ollie, Green Arrow, because they're doing this the entire time and whatnot. They kind of they level each other out for whatever's going on. But yeah, I don't know. I only have one other DC book, The Flash.
Whew. See, I've made some drops, so
Yeah. And this is my last issue of this, so that kind of tells you where I'm coming out from it. Fred, what you think?
Do you like training montages? Because 5 issues of training montages is just wonderful.
The Rocky soundtrack playing when we read it.
Yeah, right, exactly. They're chasing chickens at super speed.
Like
drinking eggs at super speed. Let me tell you, there's nothing more exciting than using the Speed Force to drink raw eggs, right?
It's the same. Like I picked up the first probably 3 issues together because I didn't jump on it right away. Mm-hmm. And reading them all together, I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. But now, like, that I have the breaks, I'm like, oh, we're going to reiterate everybody has Speed Force power. Well, a subset has the powers now.
Yeah.
The subset needs to learn how to use the powers. Oh, this other Wally West we created in the New 52 should still be relevant, kind of. We need to bring him in. Barry's got his usual relationship drama, and then at the end, love interest gets captured. What's going to happen?
Yeah, captured or fried or whatever, because I mean, at the end of it, there's a whole bunch of them that are just burnt up husks. Because one of the people from the storms that they're calling God Force, he's running around and he is literally sucking the energy out of everybody else. Godspeed, right?
And he was the reason I wanted to read this book, because I saw the concept art for him, and I heard like the fact he's all white and gold, which are usually like heroic colors, and they're like he's going around murdering people with the Speed Force. I'm like, that's cool. I want to see that, and it's not like, oh, he's Reverse Flash or like this Dr. Zoom. I'm like, I kind of want to see if they do something new with him. And so far, it's just if he gets near you, he sucks the Speed Force out of you, and that kills you.
Right. Yeah.
And
so
like,
I mean,
there's no development with him so far.
Yeah. I don't know. I like the art in this one the best. Watanabe did the art in this one. I enjoyed it better than the art in any of the other books and stuff. But yeah, you get Wally West getting involved with this woman, and then the woman gets hosed at the end of it. So,
it's typical Wally West.
So oh, Barry. I guess it's Barry Allen. I'm sorry. I get my flashes. I get my flash. Right. I get my flashes mixed up sometimes. But yeah, I mean, I just. Like I said, I'm not a super excited Flash fan. There were some fun moments in the book, I guess. Them trying to figure out how to, two of the characters trying to figure out how to use their powers together because they were doing some stuff that neither one of them had done. Well, how do we work through this? That was okay. I still think it waters the character down when, half the people, every character in the book now runs around at super speed.
But and hasn't always been.
Except for Iron.
Been that if he keeps developing that, if everybody has super speed, it cuts me down from the Speed Force because it has to get shared. But for some reason, he's still, the fastest one and, the most powerful. I get it's because he has the knowledge of the Speed Force, but it's still, he should be reduced, and they never, cut down his powers.
Yeah, I am a huge Flash fan. I mean, it was one of the comics I read, and there just hasn't been anything good in a long time. I've thought about doing a video on a couple of the story arcs I really enjoyed back in the day. But yeah, I read a couple issues of that run, and I thought this is not going to go anywhere interesting, I don't think. And it's not building. Barry as a character is interesting. Barry as the Flash is less interesting to me. And when it's like that, where just everyone's superpowered, it gets way too out there for me.
It kind of feels like Spider Island, except nobody's going to turn into giant speed monsters at the end of it.
Don't say that yet.
Yeah, not over. Not over. But it's over for me. I'm almost positive that was my last issue I had ordered. So yeah. So, are there any other DC books?
Did Justice League come out this week, or was that last week?
It came out last week.
Then never mind.
Batman, you want a cookie?
It's selling well from what I hear. I didn't touch it.
Oh, I actually am enjoying it. So.
Yeah, I thought that scene was kind of cute.
Yeah. So DC news. Any other DC news besides Sharp going exclusive? And of course the Justice League Dark.
Yeah, it had been Justice League Dark was going to be live action. Then it kind of fell off the docket.
Right.
And then it came back after they announced the animated movie. It seems like Resurgent came back in for that title, so they're going to try to redo it for live action. But I don't know if... Originally I heard Del Toro was attached to the movie. I don't know if that's still true or not.
No, he's not. I don't think he is. They got a director. The director who was going to direct Gambit for Marvel dropped that and went to the went to
Justice League Dark.
Justice League Dark. Right.
And then I don't know if it was actual news or not, but I did see it pop up in a couple of places. Warner Brothers just wants to remind everybody that there is a Shazam movie coming at some point, maybe possibly. I just saw like titles popping up like, "Don't forget, we're still doing Shazam at some point."
So was it Warner or was it The Rock doing that?
I don't know, but like somebody was just like, "Remember, it's coming," and I'm like, "It's still not in the universe, anyways. It doesn't matter."
What I absolutely love about that movie is when that was announced, all these speculators went and bought a bunch of Shazam books, and now they can't get rid of them. It warms my heart.
Yeah.
I
love some of those old classic stories though, and those characters are great. But yeah. But they'll never make the movie like those old comic books though.
No.
Because those old comic books are the classic, corny superhero, thing. I mean, through and through. Those early stories with him and the rest of the Marvel family. Those are just, I don't know.
I did see a great Photoshop though of John Cena's face over Captain Marvel's body, and they put him and then like The Rock in the background as Black Adam, and I was like, I'd watch it. Just do it.
I mean, we're getting a movie with Black Adam in it, which is fascinating to me. It's something I never thought I would see.
Right. I love that character. I love what Johns did with that character during the whole 52 and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. You've read that.
Yeah, I figured we'd really be seeing Mr. Mind, because that's the person that would go well on a movie.
The bookworm.
The bookworm, yep.
Oh, wow.
Isn't Bookworm too busy running the library at Gotham Academy?
Something like that. I don't know.
No, he's changed into an ape, actually. I don't know if you know that. It's the same actor. All right, fine. No one got it. No one's seen Planet of the Apes. All right. Twilight Zone, he goes to Mars. I know that actor.
Yeah.
Columbo catches him once. Anyway, let's move on.
No other DC news. Let's roll into Marvel. And I have 0 Marvel books this week.
Me too.
Solely has to do with events. Has nothing to do with anything else. But X-Men. Which X-Men book is it?
Extraordinary. And I haven't read in like 2 or 3 issues, so I don't even know what's happening. Someone was just like, Extraordinary X-Men still a thing, and I'm like, I was reading that. But I still enjoyed it anyways. There was a girl that Magic was training because she had the ability to talk to demons. Schools in Limbo, they're pretty much just surrounded by them. And the girl ran off, so now Storm and Magic are chasing down this girl, and they're kind of going between dimensions, and Magic's talking about like how responsible she feels, but at the same time Colossus is also missing, and she's like, I don't know who I'm supposed to go find. And like a bunch of other stuff going on at the mansion, like they captured Apocalypse, and Forge is kind of like freaking out about trying to keep them together, and who is it, Iceman and Nightcrawler are trying to go find Colossus. And I kind of like this new Nightcrawler because like they aged him up and they're making him more. He's going around and he's just like threatening to kill people. He's like, where is Colossus? He's like, I have to use fear to get to these people. And Iceman's still trying to be funny using ice puns, and Nightcrawler's just like, you have to stop. Ice puns don't work anymore.
The one thing I did pick up that book for a little bit. The one thing I did like is the relationship between Colossus and Magic, because up to that point they were really strained from one another. They're siblings, for those of you that don't know.
Right.
And they had a really strained relationship. And them working it out the way they did it seemed more authentic than, say, Black Science recently.
Well, I mean, like, when I just finished reading that one after AVX where Magic admits to Colossus that she turned him into had him turn into a demon on purpose, and I'm like, that is deep stuff. And it's actually really cool to see like Magic go from that girl who was just hanging around the X Mansion to like understand what I go through on a daily basis.
Right. So who's writing that book?
Yeah, now you know why I interrupted. Go ahead.
Lemire?
Yeah.
Okay.
And usually Ramos does the art, but it wasn't him on this issue. It was Victor Ibanez. I mean, the art wasn't too bad. Like, cool splash of them just going between worlds.
Yeah.
It's
Are
more
you
of a-
reading the other X books?
Nope.
Oh, okay. Because I'm reading Uncanny, and that's it.
But that's all I had.
So that's our Marvel news.
Yeah.
I hear that what Civil War got added to, right? They added an extra issue to it, kind of like they did with did I talk about that last week? I think I talked about that last week. It still just blows my
Yeah.
mind. It still just blows my mind, I guess, that they did it again. They added an extra issue and everybody out there who orders their comics in advance or has to talk to their local store, and the local store isn't on top of your books as far as the titles might change. Be paying attention, because as the Marvel Now starts up again, a lot of these books are going to be titled not Doctor Strange. It's going to be now Doctor Strange, or not Ms. Marvel. It's now Ms. Marvel. So if your store just looks, they're looking at the previous catalog like everybody else, and they go, oh, there's no straight Doctor Strange anymore. It got canceled or whatever. If they're not on top of it, you're going to miss a book, because some of them are going on with the same number. They're not renumbering. I think Doctor Strange isn't renumbering. I think Ms. Marvel isn't renumbering. I think Black Widow isn't renumbering, but they're all listed as a now title. So just bear that in mind as they shift to this thing. A lot of these books, the ones that they aren't renumbering, well, even the ones they're renumbering, a lot of them are starting out with now at the front of them. If they aren't all new titles.
So are they launching a bunch of new? I mean, I know like U.S. Avengers, and I mean, I didn't see anything that was
Champions.
Yeah.
There are some. I don't know, and I don't know. I mean, some of the books are being renumbered again, but not all of them. But there's like 3 Doctor Strange-ish books. There's like one of him before he was the Sorcerer Supreme. There's like a mini-series one, I think, also, and then there's the continuing Doctor Strange that some of us have been reading. But it's now Doctor Strange.
Is Aaron writing all those? Jason Aaron?
No, he's only writing the title he has been writing.
Okay.
With the same artist and everything. Nothing's changed about that book, just the title. Alni Wasp, Brandon is telling me Alni Wasp is another one of the because they're putting her in the movie somewhere, right? Or they're doing a movie with her. She's part of the Ant-Man too.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
So, yeah, I don't know.
You know what? They should make a movie called Good Comic.
Yeah.
And then base it. I'd be stoked off of that.
And then do some comic tie-ins on that, yeah.
Yeah.
So just let people know, because I noticed that as I was ordering my comics this last week, that some of the titles I really had to go through and look, because they're still there. They just tweaked the name of the document.
When does that go down? Because I know they pushed. Are they launching it on schedule even though Civil War has been pushed back?
My understanding is, how could they if they stalled it, they'd have a month where the only comic that would come out would be Civil War.
And they'd still lead, so why not?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Untrustworthy Thor is another one. See, Brandon's
That's a mini. That's a mini.
That's just a mini, though? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm picking that up.
Yeah, I think that at least one of those Doctor Strange books is a mini also.
And Thor is going to be staying, or are they renumbering that?
I think it's staying.
To the best of my knowledge. Yep.
Yeah, I don't know on that one. I guess I didn't look to see what they were doing with. I mean, I know it's going to be around, but I don't know if it's starting over again or not. But no, I would assume that all that stuff's going to be released in its time, just like with Secret Wars, where half the titles were the 8 months later when the disastrous, the secret thing is still happening. So I don't know, man. It's tough. It's tough for those of us who don't want to do the event thing. It really hampers what's going on, and then makes wonky books if you decide you're going to jump on something after the event, because I don't know. Or if you're reading the event, you get the ending kind of robbed. Either it's robbed, or the editors gut those first issues afterwards, because no, you can't say that because that hasn't happened yet in the main thing. So you get a fluff book or something. I don't know. It makes money though.
Tons.
That's what it's about, making money.
I've been looking into that after some people made some videos recently. I've been looking into
Right.
I've been looking into the actual numbers that Civil War II is making a ton of money.
Yeah.
So for anyone that thinks no one's reading that, you're way off.
Yeah. So, let's roll on to the independent books then, shall we?
Yes.
Mike, what are you reading independent-wise?
Mechanism. This was mentioned to me by one of my shop guys, and this is a. There are aliens that have landed, and there is a person that believes this is a government conspiracy. That there is one ship that they saw in the distance, and now there's all these like creatures. They call them geckos, and they will swarm into towns and kill people. So they make these giant mechanized vehicles to kill them, basically kind of the idea of Pacific Rim, but you're shooting just tiny creatures. And so they finally come up with this new android who is supposed to help out. They're testing it with 2 police officers, but the android doesn't do anything. So one of the police officers dies. The other guy just leaves the android, takes his partner, and they escape. And so it's just these combination of ideas on, are the aliens real? Are they something our government thought of to boost the economy because we were failing? And what's up with this android? So it's been very good. This is written, drawn, and lettered by Rafael Inico. And so it does have a bit of a taste of very computerized kind of art, I would say, and I've enjoyed it. I'm guessing that it's computerized with everything I'm seeing, but
Yeah.
it
looks
it's got a
sharp.
but there's a certain style to it that I'm enjoying too. So,
Mhm.
and I'm definitely gonna. It's a top cow. This is issue 2, and I'm gonna go at least a full arc on it. But I feel really happy with it right now.
I was chased away by the name because I thought it had to do with mechs and stuff, and I'm just not interested in the whole mech thing. So I just did not pick it up, even give it much of a look.
Yeah.
Judged it by its title, and that was it.
Yeah, the mechs were the first wave, so it's kind of like what they use as their history. So now they need to go Gen 2, which will be this android, so a little closer maybe to Descender in that way. So.
Right. Yeah. Cool. Fred, did you pick up Lucifer this week?
Yes, I did.
So the fight for hell
Yeah.
kicks off in this. Who's going to be the new leader? What do you think?
I thought up until you find out what his kid looks like was pretty cool. And then Lucifer's this really handsome, pretty guy, and you'd think that, right? You'd pass down some good genes. Yeah, his son in his true form makes a Shuggoth look pretty clean.
Is it a potato?
Fred,
No.
talk so we can see it.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah, because then it'll show up. There you go.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, it's a big giant. He's a big giant blob
It's like
of I don't know what, but yeah.
kind of like the I can't remember his name from East of West, the guy that is now the Message.
Oh,
Like whenever
yeah.
he starts to freak out.
Yeah.
And then like that thing that is now God at the end is super weird.
Yeah. So the presence, because it's not called God, the presence. It's one of the issues with the book. We're on issue 9 now. The presence disappeared and may be dead for all they know, kind of thing. And the angels are, of course, in a bit of a panic. The heavenly being is gone, and you're kind of left to your own demise. They're slowly falling apart. The angels are slowly. It seems like they're slowly kind of losing it. Whether that them being sad. There's one angel that's weeping, and she's constantly weeping, and as her tears rain down onto the earth, anything those tiers touch, cry too, including the rocks and whatever else that is. So there's all kinds of, that kind of biblical chaos going on as far as that goes. Meanwhile, down in hell, the new prince of hell is wanting to take over by destroying his father, who is, Mazikeen is of course has been ruling hell in Lucifer's absence, and she's been reveling and chopping people in half, and she goes to fight this son, and it kind of goes sideways on them. She gets sabotaged a little bit, and really the whole entire fight was a ruse to get Lucifer there so they could kill Lucifer off and truly claim the throne. And it's kind of a revenge sort of a thing because his son is
like a bastard almost of like another dimension.
Right.
Realm.
Yeah, another realm. I think it's a has briefly been mentioned in the Sandman stuff. It's kind of an Asian kind of a realm, and it's more like mom's revenge kind of a thing than is anything. She kind of puts him up to taking out Lucifer. So it's, I don't know, it's interesting. I've really been enjoying the book. It's been some good fun.
There's a really cool development on that last page reveal.
Yeah.
That book Frostbite that's coming out. It looks really good.
The new Vertigo book. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
But I don't know, that the new presence, I'm not sure how I feel about that. It kind of feels almost like they're Preacher in a way, because I just finished volume 1 of that. Like, the being, like the presence has left, and like what's now there is maybe not the best thing.
Yeah. So this is the what's filling the void of the presence. This kind of, I don't know, tentacle, whatever it is, and clearly it has to be bad news because it's talking in red letters. So, right? I am a new god. The god of fire and brimstone. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting. Nothing like the TV show for those people who are wondering. So
nothing like the old series either.
No, that's true too. Yeah, it's kind of doing its own thing. So, yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. What else? CDC, what are you reading?
I guess I could go with my comic book of the week, Lake of Fire, and we'll pick that up.
Oh, see, I didn't get it. I didn't pull the trigger. I thought, oh man, I've been getting every Image book. Maybe this is one not to get. Good stuff, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a bit of a history buff, so it really kind of appealed to me. So it's taking place like a year before the end of the Fifth Crusade, and this kid that's going to become the King of France wants to go and help. Wants to go like, oh, my father went and helped. I want to help. And they're thinking, well, we don't want him to get killed or anything like that, so we'll just send him out on like a fool's errand. He'll just go out, take out some infidels in this small town, come back, and he'll get to say he's a hero, become the king one day, and all that. So they throw together like this ragtag group of people, and like one of them, this guy was in an earlier crusade, was a good knight. Now he's just a drunk. That's kind of an angry guy. Then there's his squire, and there's a couple other characters. Well, before they show all this setup, they show this ship crash near this town, and all of a sudden the shepherds disappear, and then people that you go out and forage every day don't come back to town, and all of that. And you begin to realize, oh, aliens have crashed outside of this town. And so they've sent them to this town. And the one thing I liked is, so they show up, because typically when you have a story like this, and they go like, demons have taken people, people are like, oh, really? All the knights are like, all right, so clearly some people are dressing up or something like that, and they're freaking them out. So we'll go and we'll scare these bandits off and all that. And you see little glimpses of the aliens, but you don't see that. It's very much like a classic horror movie. And they go out, and these aliens just grab and ravage these people. And the drunk knight kind of goes, like, he gets that old, like, pepper in his step, and he's like, oh, all right, and he goes in, and they start fighting it. It just seems really kind of interesting to me. That's where it ends. I mean, for those of you that read Cowboys and Aliens back in the day, it's just that, but taking place during the one of the last Crusades.
I think.
Yeah.
Like the 1400s, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just really kind of interesting. I could attempt to show you. It's Matt. I thought you didn't pick it up because it was Matt Smith art, but I think this works for this kind of story. yeah, I would never put him on a superhero comic, but I don't know. The paneling's kind of it's basic, but it's good. The aliens look very hacky though in a lot of ways. So they show up. I don't know if you can see that. Can you see that?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, they show up and start just destroying people. And they're like, oh, they really are demons. So they haven't figured out they're aliens. They're like, oh, it really is demons. And now the king, the future king's in trouble, and he wants to fight. He's like Scrappy Doo. He's like, let's do this. And so the people that are like, we want him to be okay, are like, what do we do? Yeah, it was really enjoyable. I liked it, and it was a double issue for $3.99. So
Right.
It was really long. Really good.
And it's what, Nathan
Fairbanks? No, Fairbane.
Fairbairn, it's his first written work. He is known as a colorist. He colors like
Yeah, the coloring's good in this.
he's like an exclusive colorer for Paquette.
Oh.
You know, who did Swamp Thing for a while and stuff like that, and is doing the covers for Birds of Prey and whatnot. I mean, that's one of the that's like his exclusive. Yeah, that's the colorist he always uses in any of the work that he does, kind of stuff and whatnot. And he's colored a lot of Grant Morrison work too. So I mean, so the guy has
Chops.
clearly read and colored a lot of good and interesting scripts out there from a lot of talented people. So, I'm sure that's giving him plenty of opportunity to see how the work is done.
I forgot to add, so they do find the infidel that they were supposed to go and kill, and it's this girl. And she's one of the few forgers that has gone out among these alien creatures and come back fine. And so they're like really suspicious of her. And I know that it's going to unfold that she's actually good, but the time they're like, okay, she's definitely a witch and she's controlling these demons somehow. I like the fact that they haven't set up at all that like these are aliens from different planet. Like you just kind of know, like it's inferred that that's what they are. They're not demons. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Sounds like it. Sounds fun. Sounds fun. And that would suck if you're the would-be king. You're sent out to wipe out the infidels, and the infidel's a girl. It's like, oh man.
Yeah. Well, he
suck too.
Yeah. His squire goes and like grabs her, and he's like, "What are you doing? It's a girl. I'm not gonna."
Yeah. She-Wolf? Are you still reading She-Wolf?
I am. Where did I put it?
I won't show it here, but I tweeted the spread-legged version of Mr. Satan here. So this is She-Wolf issue number 3. So it's spell number 3, Ancient Incarnations. I like this book.
Yeah,
I probably shouldn't, but I do.
It's the way I feel about like Frank Zappa in a lot of ways. It's like I shouldn't like this, but I really like this.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it is.
Yeah, because it's like you start to get told this story. It's all kind of weird, and oh no, it's starting to make some sense. Oh, we're finding out her potential history, and then at the end of it, she's pulled through a mirror. It's like, oh, my mom was just messing with you. It was all nightmares. Now you're thinking, so was some of those nightmares accurate, or is it all just more BS? I mean, I don't know.
And the art has grown on me a bit.
Yeah, it's different. It's definitely.
It's weird because it's one of those comics I'm enjoying, but if someone was like, "Should I pick it up?" I would be very apprehensive to say.
No, there are a few people that I would that I think I would tell to pick this up, but they have really eclectic kind of tastes. It's not.
If you enjoyed Pencilhead and that kind of stuff, you might enjoy this. I don't know because I had read, what was the earlier thing of his, or
Dark Corridor. Right?
Okay, yeah,
and I didn't pick that up.
That was almost trippy in a different way than this. I would say this is actually a little more grounded.
So here's some of the artwork that's safe and sane. Here's some werewolves and monsters that are locked up in the basement being preached to by this preacher. This other stuff. She gets pulled in through she's reading a spell book and she gets pulled in through like the stained glass window, it looks like, and so this art's more of like a stained glass window kind of style of art. I have to skip that because he's well endowed and it's kind of hard to hide that. Then you get this kind of flash to her, kind of she's having kind of a dream about her family, and that her family might be possessed by werewolves too, or whatever. I mean, here her dad's choking her out. I don't know. There's some, like I said, there's some weird story elements that go on. The whole dream sequence, and then she's pulled through, by the vampire.
I love the coloring in it too, though.
Yeah.
I normally I wouldn't like those like contrasts, but it just works.
Yeah, but it's like I said, it's there's some cool pinups in the back of this issue too, but but yeah, it's something else. I don't, like I said, not anything I'd recommend to any. I mean, there's just so few people I'd recommend it to, but I've been having fun reading it. Well, there's one more issue, and then I don't know if we'll see any more of it or not after that. I have no idea. I do kind of feel like this guy just does his own thing, and he just does not care. And I do appreciate that from just a pure, art in parentheses standpoint. I'm just going to create my thing, and you get it or you enjoy it or you want to absorb it. Awesome. If not, whatever too. So, but yeah, strange stuff. Mike, did you get your clean room?
Yes, I did.
Oh, I kind of want to hear about this. Yeah.
You're not reading clean room?
You know what happened is, when did that come out? What was her DC book at the time?
Yeah.
And so for me, it was kind of, I picked up the first couple issues, but I thought, I really have a bad Gail Simone. No, she's been such a troll on Twitter that I'm just like, ah. But anyway, I want to hear about this.
So, after the shocking issue last month with the Pony Boy thing, which I still don't have that image out of my head. So, we get this issue where the evil company is taking over or attempting to take over
Astrid Mueller.
Astrid Mueller's self-help company that she has rolling along. So far as, of course, they sent assassins out to take her out, to finish the job, as she's recovering from being shot by her brother. So there's that whole thing going on. She's like up in the mountains of Colorado or something like that. Yeah, right. Crazy time. There's this kind of like bodyguard hitman that's with her. I like that character. She's awesome, and she's a total badass in this issue. I mean, there ends up being a sniper is taking shots at him, and she notices it and saves her and saves Mueller, and basically stands toe to toe with this sniper, and takes the sniper out with a handgun. So it was that part was kind of cool. The people who are trying to take over the company think that they're going to successfully take over the company because they've been told that they've killed Astrid. Of course, she's not dead yet. And then you have the whole clean room thing that's going on currently, as they're torturing our demon that has been exorcised, so they're no longer evil, and they're torturing it to death. Chloe, our main protagonist, comes to save Spark, and really bad things happen by the end of the issue. So.
And that got real metaphysical with the idea of, where she's like, I absolve you of your sin. I mean, that was like, I've had friends argue over religious context and like what we can and can't do, and that was just wild to see that part added into this.
Yeah, for sure, because I mean, supposedly he should be all good, right? Sparks is all good because he's had that pulled away from him, and her basically absolving him of that allows him to reabsorb his true base nature, it seems, and his true base nature is vile. So, and these people have been torturing him for days. I mean, to near death, cutting pieces of him off and doing all this horrible stuff. So, I would assume now that he's at full power again, I mean, in the clean room and in control of this kind of room where they do this kind of, meta flexing of reality and stuff, that all kinds of horrible things could possibly happen now. So, yeah.
And the way that they keep adding little twists in there. I mean, like the brother, you know, how he shot her, but now they've got this other thing about children involved, and so Astrid does have to come back.
Right.
To who is betraying her and who is on her side, so we're getting this internal civil war. Yeah, I mean, there is a lot of smart layers in this, and it's so different than Sinister Six.
Secret, yeah.
No,
Yeah.
but
Sorry,
I'd rather
Secret
read.
Six, yeah.
I'd rather read Sinister Six. So.
Yeah, sorry, Secret Six.
Yeah.
Because I think I told somebody this one, and I think that is what sold the guy in the shop when he says viciously awesome. He goes, that could get me to get the book. So
Yeah, there's some really sinister and ugly stuff goes on. I mean, Gail Mines. Well, Gail has always had kind of a nasty side to her when it comes to a lot of that kind of stuff. Anyway, and she vents a lot of it in this book. It's clearly there. It also has some of the Gail-isms where there's lots of little weird things going on that are kind of story-wise are kind of out in left field to some degree. It's that these weird elements just kind of suddenly pop up. Sometimes that's a weakness. It seems to work in this comic though, because the comic has so much weird stuff going on that when these kind of weird elements are hung around for a while and we just never see them again for a long time, it seems less bothersome and more of a curiosity, because I mean in this basically there is a basically equivalent of heaven and hell, but they're backwards as far as where they're at. Hell is above us and raining bad stuff down on us, and heaven's somewhere below us if there is a heaven, kind of a thing. And we occasionally in the past we've seen some stuff that's just totally bizarre that you see it and you go, what the hell is that? What is that all about? The guy with all the naked people around him and the giant battleship with a gun that shoots into heaven or hell, heaven, whichever kind of thing. That you just kind of go, what the f is that all about? And it's been kind of dropped, but for some reason it seems okay because, like I said, in this some of those Simonisms, Gail Simonisms, I think work better. Those kind of weird things and kind of odd structured storytelling that she's kind of picked up here lately. It seems like a lot of her books, and it has made, like, in my opinion, like the movement difficult to read. I know some people liked it. I thought it was. I had to drop it because it was extremely difficult to read. And some of the problems with, like, the Secret Six, for instance, some of those structural story type things in their work in this for whatever reason.
I'm not saying she's a bad writer or anything like that. I mean, there's plenty of stuff of hers that I've found to be phenomenal.
Right, but I agree. I mean, I was at a point where I just kind of thought, you know what, she can do no wrong, and she's proved me wrong. It was with some of the stuff, I mean, and that just goes to show that not everybody hits every time, and that's whatever. That's cool. I mean, I'm still at a point where I attempt to try out whatever she's doing. So.
And lastly, the art is sharp and tight in here. When I saw the battle between Mueller and the traitor, especially that spin kick that hits him in the face, I thought that was a very surprisingly excellent fight.
Yeah. Was that Davis, right? Davis Hunt. Hunt, who his day job is doing artwork for computer games, I believe. But yeah, he's nice, clean work, and he gets to draw some really, really, literally twisted stuff. So
yeah,
man, that Pony Boy, exciting stuff. Yeah. Let's see. Anybody reading Faith? Just me?
I haven't read it yet.
Okay.
Go ahead. I'll be right back.
So Faith issue number 2, one of my concerns after reading issue 1 was, I mean, part of what makes Faith fun is she has all these pop culture references and stuff, because she is us. She is one of us, basically. She's, top tier nerd as far as, knowing all the movies, all the quotes, all the comics, all the TV shows, all that kind of stuff. And so she throws all those pop elements in there. She'll reference Doctor Who, she'll reference Red Dwarf, she'll reference Star Wars, she'll reference Lord of the Rings, which is all fun, except the first issue, it's like she could not say a sentence. It did not seem that she wasn't referencing some piece of pop culture, and it was like that one obnoxious friend that wants to just quote Monty Python all day long and not do anything else. And I love Monty Python, but I want to have a conversation that isn't just quotes from that. And so I was concerned. I thought, oh boy, this is going to get fatiguing really quick if every piece of dialogue she has is that. This dialed it way back. I mean, it was still there. She still has some of those things. It's still fun for those of us, who are into all that kind of stuff. It's fun to read from that standpoint. But it didn't feel ad nauseum or over the top. So I was really excited about that part of it. In this issue, she gets introduced to a guy who wants to be her nemesis. Basically, the guy has been playing superheroes like almost his entire life. He's got that great chiseled chin. He's like the all-American actor kind of thing, and he gets picked to play the equivalent of Captain America, the equivalent of James Bond, except he hates heroes. As a kid, when he read the superhero books, he loved the villains because the villains were the people who made things happen. The heroes don't do anything. The heroes are all reactive. It's the villains. They're proactively trying to do something, and that's what he wanted to be. And he was really frustrated with the fact that he keeps getting picked for all these superhero roles, except for it allowed him to secretly bankroll being a villain. And he was doing all this, he had all these secret cartels going on and stuff, but it really wasn't that satisfying until Faith moved to LA. And she became a superhero in LA where he lives. Finally, he has a hero in his town that he can go up against. So he has basically laid claim that he is her, supervillain. So they kind of have a battle of monologues in this and stuff, and so that's the story's gonna be for a bit. I think them in the conflict of that whole thing, and of course she's super bummed because of course, if Chris Hemsworth suddenly became, you suddenly found out that in real life that he was some, prostitution ring runner or something. You're like, oh man, kind of a thing, and that's kind of what she's feeling. It's like, oh, this guy who she looks up to as being this great icon in all these hero movies is suddenly this ultimate douchebag kind of a thing. So, but it's fun. I've been enjoying it. Issue 2 of the ongoing, I like where it's going. So,
to jump on that, then I have Generation Zero from Valiant, issue number 1. If you read the Harbinger series, these were some of the children that they were dealing with and rescued. So it's great for those that were reading the whole series. Faith knows these people and that. In this issue, you can also just pick it up and read. If you are a teenager, you can go on the internet and you can find Generation Zero. They're supposed to help solve problems. So, like one girl says she has suicidal tendencies because people pick on her. One was a person that's transgender and they want to figure out how to tell their parents, and they said, can you guys tell my parents? Another one is a kid who's being bullied who, is access to weapons, and he says, if you don't take care of me, I'm going to use this. And then finally we get to our lead character in here, and she's living in a town kind of like a Flint, Michigan, that's been taken over by a corporation that gives you all the technology you ever wanted. So everybody has a computer and iPad and Zune, everything that you need. And her boyfriend is investigating why all this stuff is happening, why everything is so good. He dies. They said it was drinking and driving. She finally contacts Generation Zero, and at the end, she encounters possibility of who the big baddie is, and Generation Zero comes in to protect. So it was a fun issue, and then very fast. So
is that an ongoing?
To the best of my knowledge, it should be, yes.
Because I know that some of those new Valiant books that are coming out, some of them are miniseries versus because they're coming out with a new Harbinger book, right? I thought I saw an ad for it showing that they're going to get the team back together or something. So
yeah, and I definitely will be picking that one up. I mean, because the artwork in this one is pretty good. Valiant definitely kicks out a house style. And that's what I kind of grew up on, so I enjoy it. It's solid art, good story, and yeah, but they definitely keep loosely tying every comic into another. So for those that are deep into it, you really get something out of it. New readers, you can pick it up, but there's more to read if you want.
So it builds the universe, but doesn't hamper you to just.
Correct.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Well. Fred, you got any other books?
Darkwing Duck.
Darkwing Duck.
When there's trouble, he called EW.
That's right.
I found out they were carrying it at Barnes & Noble, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to read it. And it's actually like, I never really got to see the show growing up as a kid. I started watching it later on, and this is like, for a comic adaptation of like a silly spin-off show, it's pretty solid. And like, it just hits every level of like the different tropes in comics. So, I mean, like, if you're just looking for a good time, like, Darkwing Duck is definitely just like a decent book, and it's $2.99, and it's kind of thick too. So it's not bad.
Cool. It's $2.99?
Yep.
Nice. It's nice to know that one of the kids' books isn't. They aren't cranking it out for $5. So.
Yeah.
I wasn't a kid when the cartoon was out, but I enjoyed it anyway.
Yes.
So, yeah.
I was more of a Chip and Dale fan as a kid, so I didn't really watch.
Okay. Sure. CDC, got any other books you want to talk about?
Well, not in depth. I liked one of the stories in the island. I liked I don't know if anyone played the video game Chrono Trigger, but there's this story in it that looks just like the art from like the instruction booklet, and it has no dialogue in it. Did anyone else read The Island?
I didn't. I dropped it as of this issue.
Oh, okay. Well, you didn't miss much.
In protest over Brandon Graham thinking that he can pirate comics and it's okay if we pay for his comics, but he doesn't have to pay for comics. So.
Well, I got it at a discount, so.
Whatever. I'm just saying. That's why there's stories in it I would love to still be reading, but.
Yeah. No dialogue. I don't know. I could take it or leave a lot of the stories in it, but.
So is that the story that's been going on that's had the no dialogue? Because there's been kind of that weird. Right on.
Yeah, which is basically like a '90s RPG almost. Like that's the look and feel to it. So I liked that. Everything else was just kind of more of the same, I would say, in it. I don't know. I kind of enjoyed the island more at the beginning, where it was kind of felt more. I mean, this is anthology, but that felt really anthology. And I thought they haven't done because the last one that I had read was, what was the one at the beginning of the New 52 that was Anthology DC Presents, right?
Right.
Yeah, I like anthology comics. I wish there were more of them.
Same here.
So, I mean, that's kind of where its appeal is, but that was the only story I kind of really enjoyed, and it had no dialogue in it, so. What else did I read? There's a lot I haven't read yet. I tried to read as much as I could. I read all my DC. I figured we'd be talking that.
Did you does anybody else read Exodus?
Oh yeah. I haven't read that issue.
Okay. Well, I won't talk about it other than it's kind of interesting. I mean, the whole kind of we're at the point now where the Son of God has basically told everybody there is no God, there is no plan, there is no grand anything. We're all just effed, and it's kind of ripped the world apart. In chaos as people are fighting over religion. Shocker there, huh? And the person who was anti-God the most is now desperately trying to do two things. Convince people there is a heavenly host and that heavenly host really does owe us something and we should demand it, kind of a thing. You got this kind of play between people who were all kind of friends are now at each other's throats. Mm-hmm. Hemingway, the one thing. Oh no, I won't split that. Hemingway's back in the issue because he was kind of missing for an issue. Cool. And I kind of wondered, are we just gone? We're never going to see Hemingway. And I'm not a big Hemingway fan. I actually live extremely close to where he spent his last days. But in this story, I like Hemingway. I mean, he's just a great character. This is kind of how he deals with stuff. Is just kind of is amusing. So
it wouldn't be the same comic without him.
No, it certainly wouldn't. It certainly wouldn't. So looking forward to what's next, this was a good issue. It kind of cements that whole what the clash is going to be. So that I don't think there's a whole lot of issues left, though.
No,
like 2 or 3, and it's done.
which sucks because I don't know. I like I can't think of it. Is it How do you pronounce it?
Yeah, Joshua Hill Falcoff.
I've never been able. I'm terrible with those kind of names, but that might be how you say it.
That's my guess. So
I think he's super underrated as a writer. I don't know that I've read anything that I haven't enjoyed by him.
Right, for sure.
But
What shocks me is he has an exclusive with Oni Press, which is cool for Oni Press. But I mean, Mike, do they put Oni Press books on the shelf?
Rare.
Right. See,
Wow.
most places, I don't know how often Oni Press books make it to the shelf. So I think he writes a lot of interesting stuff. But Oni Press doesn't have a big run of anything that they do. And so
At my shop,
I don't know how long a book like this survives, based on the fact is that it doesn't get the push of it being a Vertigo book or an Image book or that sort of thing. So, but people out there should be checking out these smaller presses. There's some really good stuff.
Especially Oni.
Yeah, there's some really really strong stuff that's going on some of those places and whatnot. I know these two creators, Gabo and Joshua, they have something else in the works when this ends. I think they felt like they needed to end this because you don't get new people on at this point, and as it dwindles down to the 1,500 to 700 of us that are buying the book, they need to kind of move on to continue to pay the bills. At the end of the day, so.
Yeah, I know that especially with like Oni and like some of those smaller ones, if I don't order it specifically, it's never on the shelf. It's typically just in my pull.
Right.
So.
Right. So, anyway, look forward to hearing your thoughts on it because I thought this was a good issue to really cement.
Yeah.
That last issue, I still wasn't 100% sure what the hell happened. I mean, really exactly what was going on. But this issue kind of redraws the lines so we kind of know. Oh, okay, this is what.
Similar to kind of his other big one in Oni. Like this is one of those ones. Once it's done,
Bunker,
I want to go back. Bunker. You got me onto that.
Yeah.
I want to go back and read it from the start again. Like not just this one, but the actual beginning of the story, and when it's just the life after.
Yeah.
Is there any reason why they did that? Was it just to restart it so maybe they could get some sales?
Basically, yeah. Basically, because originally his thought was, I'm going to do this in chapters, kind of like biblically.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the life after. This is Exodus, because of course they're leaving the life after, and kind of a thing is kind of what was the plan, I think. So.
Yeah. I mean, it's really been fun.
Plus the fact despite our bitching and moaning about number ones and how the big two relaunch all the time and whatnot, even the little places, even Image and whatnot, go check out Jim Zub. He does Skull Kickers and Wayward and a bunch of that stuff. He does an excellent job of, I believe, honestly telling us what his sales look like and how it works and stuff. And he's kind of proven that if because he relaunched Skull Kickers a couple times, and every time he relaunched it, he'd get a big boost in sales. He'd get the big sale for number one. It would start to peter out. He'd launch a new number one. It would jack it up again. And, at the end of the day, they have to be able to pay their bills. They have to make a living in what they're doing. I'm sure they love what they're doing, but they have to afford to be able to do it, right? So, in this day and age, I wouldn't be surprised if you don't see a lot of books doing that, despite the collectors, us old collectors who bitch about the fact that we never get a long numbered run of anything, but yeah. Yep. Any other books we want to talk about?
I got Renato Jones, the 1%.
Okay. What issue are we on? 3?
4.
4.
And it goes more into Renato's childhood with Bliss, his love interest / multimillionaire neighbor, and how as kids, like, they tried to run off, and like she ended up like betraying him and like telling her dad that like, oh, he's just like the weird kid next door, and like he finds out that her dad beats her. Middle of the night, he's still like 8 or 9, breaks into their house, like kills one of their guards, and it's like trying to save her when the dad shows up, and like he still manages to escape. But then it like fast forwards to the future, well, present, and it's him still trying to save her from like the life of the 1%, because him and his butler hate all that, and her dad is like running for president or whatever, and his platform is America needs to hate again.
Nice.
They're doing a pretty good job.
Yeah.
So like it's a weird book. I'm enjoying it, and they're slowly introducing a villain for him. I just want to see where it goes, and like he's the writer who also does the art, Kyle Andrews. He always includes like these really like fancy magazine-esque like work, things you'd see in like Cosmopolitan or like high-end magazines, but they always poke fun at like consumerism and like materialism and stuff. So there's an ad for like a hormone in back or whatever, and it's just called douche. It's supposed to be like some fragrance, and it's like a girl laid out on a bed, and it's just douche scented.
Ugh.
Oh boy.
But it's not like
Sounds
my
interesting.
favorite. It's not my favorite read, but like it's a good book, like for an independent title, and like just to have on my list. I enjoy it.
Cool.
Yeah.
I've heard hot and cold. Either people like it or they just like, this is,
There's definitely like a lot of like politics and like
right.
like the status quo of like the poor versus the rich, and like how I called it like a modern day Robin Hood once, but it's nothing like that. It's literally like this hitman who's like the 1%'s ruining the world. I'm gonna kill them all, and does it in like the most extreme ways possible, which is probably my favorite part.
It's the ultra violent. That's the good part, right?
Yeah.
Right on. Right on.
90s Image all over again.
Yeah. The only other book I'll talk about, I don't know if anybody else here is reading it, Sombra.
What issue is that?
Issue number 2.
All right, I'll find out if I'm going to check it out or not.
I love this. I love the cover. Basically, this is, it really is seems to be a kind of a Heart of Darkness, Apocalypse Now vibe to it, in that we're in issue 2. It's basically a daughter who works for the DEA is going into Mexico, where all the cartels are at and all the horrible stuff's happening, to find her father, who was a agent for the DEA and was like super agent for the longest time. Was just rocking it, taking everybody out and arresting people and doing all the great stuff. And he kind of seems to be, reported that he's kind of crumbled under the pressure of it and has kind of gone rogue. And now he's not reporting back in. He's just doing horrible things to the cartels. He's hunting them down. He's doing all this, diabolical kind of stuff. And so in this, we have this daughter who's trying to find her father, and we're not sure. And I don't think she's sure. Is she going to find him to bring him in? Is she going to find him to try and, right the wrong? What's she going to do when she gets to him, kind of a thing. In this issue, they go to a little village that usually these cartels pay the villages lots of money to grow their drugs, and kind of change the village completely into something different. Because they used to be like a little farming village, and now they're kind of stuck in the drug trade themselves, kind of a thing. And they go to this village, and her father supposedly has already been there. And the people in the village are butchered. And not just dead, they're dead and they're hung up in really artistic kind of ways. Kind of like at the point in like Apocalypse Now where you get to the end and there's, people aren't just dead, they're displayed and hung up in, in all kinds of crazy ways and whatnot and stuff. And that's what they find. They find this village and everybody is like this. This is the water fountain, and there's that's people, their ribs split open and extra legs attached to them. It's hardcore. It's hardcore gore.
It's all hot, so it smells horrendous.
Oh yeah, yeah. And they're looking around, and she's somewhat suspicious. She can't figure out what's going on. She's kind of like, there's no kids here. And about that time, the people that are kind of helping her kind of turn code on her, and she looks like she's getting ready to meet her father, and get this kind of Dad, but we don't know who Dad is because, of course, there's the shadow. So this is 4 issues. The artist Raul Trevino he's from Mexico. He lives in the area that kind of this stuff's that some of the in reality horrible cartel stuff that's going on, the beheadings and the beheadings and all of that kind of stuff. So he is kind of doing some of this art, and his part of it is from kind of experience and living where it's happening at. Justin Jordan is writing it. He's kind of telling the story. I'm always kind of really iffy on Justin Jordan. I have read some of his stuff that I've absolutely hated, so I was a bit nervous about this, but I really like the covers, and I'm enjoying it. I don't know that it's like completely rocking my socks off, but it really does have that, like I said, that kind of Heart of Darkness, Apocalypse Now kind of a vibe to it. They skip, like in the movie, they skip all the buildup of the tension of them getting to, they're just, because it's 4 issues, they just get right into it. So who knows what's next, what the next trippy issue is going to be. I mean, how, we're meeting this guy that's supposedly done all this horrible stuff. What's that going to be like? And, oh my God, my dad is not just killing the bad guys, he's killing them and basically making art out of them, as some sort of a, to scare the other cartels or whatever. It's kind of nuts. And this also gets published in, Boom Studios is publishing it twice. They also publish it in a Spanish version of it too. So, kind of cool.
That's the thing about Boom, I would say, as of late, is I'm just enjoying those minis that pop up every once in a while. Like, the fiction was great. What was the one where the guy couldn't sleep? I enjoyed that.
Johnny Flood. Yeah.
Like, just those that, they've been really enjoyable.
Yeah.
Speaking of companies that you probably don't see on the shelf as much as you should.
Yeah, Boom Studios, right. I mean, they have some of their stuff, right, is, what do I want to call that? If they're using corporate product. They're
franchise stuff, yeah.
Right. So that's the stuff. I think that's probably the stuff people see on the shelf first. Because don't they have they're doing
I think they have
Ghostbusters, and then they're doing Big Trouble in Little China.
I thought Ghostbusters was
Dynamite?
Was IDW.
Oh.
Because see, IDW does a bunch of those too, right?
Yeah.
No, I know IDW has the Turtles and Transformers. I thought Boom was Ghostbusters. I might be wrong.
Oh, okay. Well, that could be. I mean, I don't remember. They're doing Miami Power Rangers. They did Wild's End for those people who like the Wild's End stuff. You're right. They are doing the Jack versus Snake is the new one that's coming out, right? So
I would love that movie.
That would be over the top cool, wouldn't it?
I mean, Snake would win, but then again, if it was the crew from Big Trouble in Little China, it would be an interesting fight. Right. I mean, he was. I don't know. We could go off on a whole hangout on those 2 movies. I'm a huge Carpenter fan, so
yeah, some fun stuff there. But yeah, they do put out some good stuff. Some other interesting things. I can't remember what it is. There's some other stuff that's coming up pretty soon that I'll probably be talking about too, as far as that goes. But that's pretty much it for my books this week. Anybody got anything else they want to talk about?
I have not finished reading everything else. I would have a couple.
Cool. Well, indie news or anything like that? Any other thing we think we want to talk about? Next week is the 5th week of the month, so that's a weird week as far as what's coming out. I think there are no Rebirth books. I think there might be some other DC, the odds and ends, but I know there's no Rebirth books.
Payback's #2 is out.
There you go. Trying to look here to see what.
Oh yeah. So it's gonna be really light. But I don't have at least one Marvel.
There was a lot of annuals. There was the new Wolverine annuals coming out.
Is that what it is? Mostly the annual. It's one of those kind of 5th weeks where it's the annual stuff that's coming.
Yep.
Trying to get my. There we go.
I think the independents look good though. I think
they typically. Yeah. And it's too bad Jeff Johns isn't writing anything because that's probably when one of his issues would come out typically.
One of the ones that's really late. Yeah.
Yeah.
East of West next week.
Yeah.
Oh, East of West, nice. Okay. So yeah.
Oh, and Saga's back.
So things like Future Quest and that stuff for DC, right? So.
Oh man, I got a big week next week for Image.
Trying to get
Saga 37, Sons of the Devil 10, Spawn 265, and Tokyo Ghost 10 are out.
the final Tokyo Ghost. So we'll talk about, does it end?
Oh, that means I get it tomorrow.
And how does it end, kind of thing. So that'll be cool. And yeah, the Marvel stuff is well, Ms. Marvel comes out next week. It looks like.
Mhm.
So at least have that.
Is it an annual or is it the regular issue?
Another tie-in to Civil War.
It's number 10. I mean, it's a tie-in, I'm sure, but it's issue 10. So, but I'm sure it's a tie-in. Yeah, I mean,
I've been reading Civil War, so I don't know how much these are tying in. I would almost. Does anyone know anyone that's reading it? The actual event?
Yeah, I got a couple buddies that read only Big Two, so.
yeah.
I would almost want to know how much these are tying in because I
Well-
feel like I'm reading the ones I am reading and I'm fine.
And you know, they are. I will say this. It feels to me like they're doing a much better job of that as far as it. I'm not left going, holy crap! I mean, I have to go buy this other stuff to know what's going on, and I don't think that anything is happening in the books that I'm reading anyway. The 3 I think that are Ms. Marvel, Spider-Woman, and Power Man, Iron Fist. Those. It's affecting what they have going on in their lives, but I don't feel like one is attached to the other. I don't think anything critical happens. They're kind of responding, responding to what has happened in the actual Civil War itself. It seems mostly, So, Suiciders number 6 I hear comes out. Bitch Planet comes out too. Really?
Yeah.
Cool if it does. I didn't see it, but that's awesome if it does. Means it might be getting back on a more of a regular schedule, which would be.
Is this one where it's a different artist?
Oh, is this like the 9th issue where it's every 3 issues we get something different? I don't know. I don't know if it is or not. I have no idea. But at any rate, nothing else we want to talk about. I think we'll call it a night.
Sure.
Okay. Thank you guys for coming on and chatting books. Come back anytime. Of course, I know young Fred is on his wild 2-day vacation before he starts the grind of school again.
Senior year.
Yeah, right on.
Well,
But
yeah. Best year.
it's the easiest, right? You just coast, right?
No.
We'll talk to you in early May and see what
Right, I
you
was gonna say. He's lucky he'll get that half day on Christmas break, right? But
I get a month off for Christmas.
yeah, but
what?
yeah, but at any rate, so come back whenever, and of course Mike and CDC, anytime, all the time,
Yep.
whatever. Appreciate you guys coming on and talking books with me, and we'll be back next week. Sounds like mostly to talk independent books, but I'm sure we'll find something else to complain about or love or whatever else goes on, because this is the internet, right?
So this is what Marvel did wrong this week.
Yeah, exactly. Something like that. I try not to pick on them, but sometimes people make it easy. So anyway, catch you all next week. Thanks everybody who came on and watched and hung out the whole time or hung out in parts. And hey, Mercy, keep making your videos. The people who count love them. Ignore the assholes. And with that, good night.
Oh no, something happened. All right, see you. Bye, Mercy.